Crossing some I's and crossing some T's.
here.
I was writing my novel about the woman. I just had to do a quick epilogue, guys.
Was there a big red bird?
Was there a big red what?
A big red bird. She puts a big red bird in it at one point.
Oh, that's right. A big red bird. That's
like
meant
a
to
big
be metaphorical.
red bird.
Big metaphorical for something, but nobody knows what.
The house that I'm in currently recording from is a bit like the woman's house. We've got all this lovely antique going on.
Oh.
It's my boyfriend's mum's house.
Oh, that's nice.
Lovely English countryside out there.
Wow.
Ooh.
This is like where the woman might live.
Oh,
Yeah.
So Chris is rich.
Actually, well, middle.
Well, the middle's shifted though, because everyone's got so much poorer. So the middle is now the top, except for the super top.
His family can afford bread.
Bread.
Let's put it that way.
That's good.
The Spontaneity Shop presents The Guilty Feminist Watchers and Just Like That, the Sex and the City Reheal, with me, Deborah Frances-White, and my very special guests, Juno Dawson and Dylan B. Jones. Season 3, Episode 11, Forget About the Boy. All right, so Juno and Dylan, I love your podcast, which started out as the Sex and the City rewatch and now veers all over the place, but always comes home for And Just Like That, of course, as is only right and proper. Before I do this week's specific recap, overview, how are you feeling about And Just Like That and its sad and imminent demise?
So I once described, a couple of seasons ago, I described And Just Like That as giving me the same feeling as the music of Meghan Trainor, which is simultaneously energized and infuriated. And that is still how I feel 2 seasons later.
Excellent. Energized and infuriated. In fact, the fury is, in a way, the fuel that gives us the energy. I mean, we do get out of bed, pop on a bra, and do the podcast. The official slogan of this podcast is now, and we're still watching, so we're part of the problem.
Right? God, I mean, we've all made money off this show. Not as much money as Sarah Jessica Parker and Michael Patrick King.
I think that's safe to say.
I cannot shake a sense of frustration of what could have been.
What could have been, Juno?
Of what could have been. And I've realised, I did some mathematics, which for me is quite a stretch, that there will have been 32 episodes of And Just Like That when it concludes. And what have we achieved in 32 episodes?
If we'd been given that budget to make a new show, oh my God.
I would chew my own arm off for 32 episodes of one of my original ideas or one of the adaptations of one of my books. But instead we've had 32 bits of Michael Patrick King whimsy. Like, wouldn't it be great? Wouldn't it be great if Carrie wet herself?
We've seen a dog getting fat shamed. We've seen
worth the admission price, Dylan, on its own.
What about you, Deborah?
I mean, regular listeners will know that I feel the same as Juno, that we could have had 32 episodes of the quality of the old Sex and the City, but for life for women in their 50s. And how has that transformed? And how is it if somebody's lost their partner, or how is it if somebody's dating again, using apps and they've never used apps before? Like, we never really got to see Carrie. It was kind of touched on, but we never got to see Carrie dating again in the real world. Miranda exploring life as a lesbian or as a bisexual woman who's dating queer people. That's so interesting to me. So interesting. And then letting Charlotte coach the next generation with their dating issues and their burgeoning sex lives. Fascinating. Like, we had in just those 3, a straight woman dating on the apps, who was from a time where you walk down the street and someone would give you the card, or you'd be sitting in a bar and men would come over. That doesn't really happen anymore in the same way. Now everyone's looking down on their screen, swiping right and left. And how is that for our Carrie, who we know? Miranda exploring this queer new world, while perhaps not screwing Steve over in such an extravagant way and enjoying it quite so much. That would have been nice. But Steve could have been her buddy. I think if they'd reached the end of the road together and gone, okay, we're going to date together, we're going to co-parent, and we're going to coach each other through the new dating lives. I would love to have seen that. Like them, like we've really got to the point where this is more of a friendship. We haven't slept together in years. Let's do this alone together. That would have been amazing.
Imagine him as her wingman at like queer bars and stuff. That would have been cool.
Miranda, she's looking at you, Miranda. Go talk to her, Miranda.
Miranda's name is now spelled Mawanda.
Moanda.
That's how it's.
Moanda.
I feel like that could have been great, but also Steve's like, can we have a threesome? You know, I fancy her too.
Right.
And she's like, no, that's not what this is about. You know, there's places there for arguments and for drama, but I feel like had just the three of us and some of the other guests who've done my podcast got together in a writer's room with the love of the fans, we could have done a much better series, but also about what life is like now. And I feel like Michael Patrick King, he just doesn't know what life is like now because he's living in such a rarefied world.
Because I just said yesterday on So I Got to Thinking that the big, other than obviously having her voiceover intact, the other big change I would have made is, can you remember in season 1, there was some suggestion about Big having this mysterious secretary? I would have had it that he was involved in like a Ponzi scheme or something, and I would have had Carrie lose her fortune. Because I think the problem is there's no struggle for Carrie. And so characters who aren't struggling do not make for good television. And so even though she was dealing with grief, there's just been a lot of Carrie sort of roaming around this enormous mansion in big outfits. And I think that's what Michael Patrick King thinks we like about the show. But no. We like Carrie having to buy a house with Charlotte's engagement ring. We like her being, you know, scrappy and a survivor of New York, not kind of just floating around Central Park in big heels.
We like her having the gall to say that she's got no money while wearing a Chanel blouse, like being messy like that. Do you remember in the original show?
Yeah.
But I was going to say as well, like none of the characters are struggling enough. That's the problem. Even like when Seema was losing her job, or thought she might, or did lose her job in the end. It's like, right, well, what's the worst that's going to happen to this incredibly wealthy woman? Like, she's not going to be out on the street, is she?
Oh, she had to give up her driver for 2 weeks, Dylan.
Well, a fate worse than death. I mean, we've all been there,
right.
And the relatability of her going, now I'm going to have to get cabs and they're disgusting. And I'm like, for us, cabs are like luxuries. We're like, oh my God, let's get an Uber, let's get a black cab home. And we're very privileged, but we would be aware of that we'd be like, you know, there's some people who never get a cab. But the idea that cabs are disgusting and lonely. I mean, Seema is seriously scared she's going to catch paw germs. And in 1 week she does catch paw germs because she goes to a downtown salon and she gets paw germs in her eye and she has to wear an eye patch. I mean, the classism of this show is out of fucking control. And I remember leaving Juno a very long, involved voice note that could have been...
I love your voice notes. I love your voice notes so much.
Juno, to you, they're more personalised podcasts, let's be honest. They're 25 minutes of me walking down the street.
Like a solo episode of Guilty Feminist just for me. I rate it, honestly.
I do send you mini GF episodes. If I know someone and I listen to their podcast, I often have to interact with it because I'm like, it's like I'm there. So then I'm like, on that. And then I think, they don't need to know what I'm thinking. It's their podcast. But I can't help myself.
Maybe this is the next format of podcasting: personalized podcast, like curated, bespoke podcasts for each person of the audience.
I can only assume there's a business in that. Listen, if you would like a bespoke
Do you know what that is?
Voice note, yes.
But that is one step removed from, and my God, this is a whole other episode. They should have done this in and just like that. The rise of the life coach. I was in the gym a few weeks ago and there was this man and he looked like somebody who would call himself a life coach. He had the teeth and the hair and the tan. And he was like sort of half-assedly working out while he had his fun kind of like apprentice style,
Oh, shit.
like sending affirmations. And he'd send a load of like absolutely kind of kirked out affirmations to one person, hit send, and then do it for the next client, like sending the same wild affirmations. Like, you've got to get up in the morning, like every day, like you're a fighter. You know, you've got to imagine what is the fight of, and I'm like, he's being paid for this.
Wow.
He's being paid for like fortune cookie wisdom. So we could make a lot of money from sending individual podcasts. Like, so I got to thinking today about breakfast cereal. Like Dylan and I could just send our
Listen,
idle
if you're
thoughts to
interested
paying
in
guests.
this, do email guiltyfeminist@gmail.com and tell us sort of what budget you have, and we'll tell you what we can do for that. Are you sure that man's not dominant? Because there are now a lot of dominant, like doms on Instagram or dominant adjacent men who will life coach you by sending you a series of dominant voice notes. And
I
although
keep getting served
What
those.
just telling you you're disgusting and stuff?
no, motivational, sort of like,
Oh, okay.
yeah, it's sort of like a kind of dominant life coach. So you can
I
kind
got
of,
served one that was, he was like, are you in control of your life and powerful? Do you want to be more like assertive with women? And I was
oh
like,
no.
um,
No, this is more like getting getting turned on while you get stuff done. Do you know what I mean?
oh, I see. I
So
see.
it's
Okay.
more high-handed. Um, you'd better
Okay.
do what you're told. Sort of,
Oh, okay.
you know,
Oh.
and
Oh.
you have to.
Me and Juno are both like, oh.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'll send you the link. I've not done it, but I'll send you a link.
Well, no, do you know what? I will say this. A lot of men really want a trans woman to dominate them.
Oh, do they?
Mm.
Yeah, oh, it's a big thing. Yeah, but it's so not my thing. So I'm like, hang on a minute. I'm meant to be making something off this, but it does nothing for me whatsoever. So, but I don't want to tell some man he has a small penis.
Oh, no.
That's not how I want to spend my day.
I did get a message like that in lockdown of like, I love your podcast so much, and I just wanted you to tell me my penis is small and it would mean a lot to me. I think it was the same thing, but like a sort of, you a feminist can tell me blah 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 blah. But he was like waxing lyrical about the podcast. It was so unusual, and he's probably listening now. Hello, but he said,
Hello.
"Could you? It would mean a lot to me if you would tell me my penis was small." And then he sent me pictures
And it,
of what was
Oh, God.
objectively one of the largest penises I've ever seen, and I was like, "Oh, what?" I was like, "This is huge." And that's, I'm sure, disappointing. If you're listening, I know that's disappointing to hear, but I cannot lie. I cannot tell a lie. And it doesn't do
I'm
anything
really
for me either.
sorry. I'm really sorry, but you have a massive penis.
I'm so sorry. I don't know what to tell you. All right, we better do the recap because it's
Yeah.
20 past.
We probably should really,
Okay.
shouldn't we?
All
Yeah.
right. So this week's ep. All right. But even that's a better idea for a storyline of somebody
Yes!
writing and saying, "Could you tell me this?" And the sort of whoever would have been the new Samantha character in our version, sort of like sending voice notes and sort of like, because you can imagine Samantha walking down the street and going, I can get him off while getting things done.
Yes.
It's a great use of my time. I could be walking down Fifth Avenue and getting him off. I don't have time for all the men, and so on and so on. Anyway, all right. In this week's episode, Carrie doesn't know that one person won't eat half a full-size pie after a huge meal because she doesn't bake. A character we've never met and will never see again explains Carrie was an important member of her old neighborhood, even though in 27 years we only ever saw her buy cigarettes and magazines without acknowledging the vendor, and we've never seen her look a waiter in the eye unless she was trying to take him home. Lizette is on the street where she lives, and invites Carrie to a party in her old apartment, which she has boldly and badly turned into 2 apartments, apparently without consulting Carrie, who basically gave her the apartment. She then says, "I didn't dig living here alone because I thought a man might break in and put me in a cage. So I invited a man to hack the apartment up and live in it with me, like a cage." Carrie is clearly horrified. Is it wrong that I'm on her side? Harry is obsessed with his erection or lack of, despite the fact he's in his 50s and recovering from major groin surgery. He refuses to go to next week's Thanksgiving episode at Miranda's because his visualization of his family together at every colonizer's favorite holiday kept him alive through his short-lived and apparently not life-threatening condition. Meanwhile, Rock goes femme for a suspiciously good high school production of Thoroughly Modern Millie, and Charlotte goes nostalgic for the Rock that might have been, while Carrie takes her life in her hands by going to a second concert of one of Charlotte's children, bearing in mind last time she did that, Big died of it. Has anyone checked on Duncan? Has anyone checked on Duncan? I mean, we've got to ask, is Aidan okay? 2 concerts. I wouldn't go again. Giuseppe proposes to Anthony. Anthony says yes, but then gets cold feet. No one mentioned Stanford Blatch. No one. Stanny. Are they even properly divorced? We don't know. Carrie's publisher loves the worst novel in the world, but she thinks the woman ending up alone is a tragedy. I'm happy ending girl, reductively said no publisher ever. Seema and Adam Karma Gardens, the gardener, say I love you in a moment so human we wonder if it belongs in another show altogether. And Seema also couldn't help wondering if she can get out of next week's episode at Miranda's house to go to Adam's Tofurkey Friendsgiving nightmare, where no one will use deodorant. Herbert is being a huge man baby, as always. Am I cool? I don't want pasta in my sight. I lost. I want to be comptroller. Where? Lisa, please leave him for that hot piece of continuing storyline at work. You're right. Don't. Was that a spit take, Juno? Delighted.
It was a little bit, yeah.
I'm so thrilled. Juno was just drinking coffee, if you're listening. You don't want to be married to a giant baby. Speaking of babies, Miranda goes behind Brady's back again and invites his baby mama into the series finale when we've only met her once and she was awful. No one wants her there, least of all Brady, because he doesn't want to look at the knocking up he himself did while he's trying to stuff a turkey. Understandable, but cowardly. And finally, Carrie writes an epilogue to her book about the woman in which she doesn't get asked on a date by a British widower, but might. You never know. Hopeful! And that's this week's episode.
Yay!
Thank you.
Very good.
You put my potted synopses to shame, Deborah. I need to step up my game.
Well, you've got one more week to do
Yeah,
it. Your
Dylan.
potted synopses are great. Mine have just become more and more risible as it's gone on because I can't do it. I can't do it without sarcasm anymore. I'm physically impossible of saying what happened.
Becoming more and more risible as it continues fits the vibe of And Just Like That. So
it's 100%. So we open on Carrie buying pies.
Yes, 7. Mm-hmm. 7 pies.
For 14 people. And now half those people aren't coming. They're all falling away. There's going to be more pies than people at this rate. When Miranda says 7 pies for 14 people, that's half a pie each. Carrie goes,
America.
Is that wrong? I don't bake. I'm like, I don't bake.
Nor does she eat.
She doesn't eat either. I don't bake. She used to buy Vogue instead of dinner in the 80s because it fed her more.
It just feeds her more, yeah.
She's tiny. She obviously isn't eating half a pie herself. So I don't know. I don't bake. I'm like, no, but you eat and you see people eat. That isn't mad. It's mad. And we see Jackie Hoffman insisting to everybody else that she is the best customer in the world. She bought pies even in lockdown when she didn't need them to support the bakery. What would have been better for the bakery is a donation because then they had to spend the money on ingredients that went green on a shelf. Let's not dwell on it. There's no need for logic here. Mm-hmm. We've not found any in all these episodes. We're not going to start hunting for it like treasure in the rubble. But did this surprise you? This opening scene of Carrie's meant to be the best person in the neighborhood?
Well, no, because they keep doing it. They never miss an opportunity to tell the audience that Carrie is the best person to have ever lived. That is something that does happen a lot. I mean, and I think it started way back in original series season 4, where season 5, where Carrie's having the cover shoot done for her book, and Samantha just goes, "Isn't she fabulous?" Like while looking adoringly at her. And I think since then. Yeah, it reminded me of that scene in, The Room, that dreadful film, where the character of Johnny goes in and says, "Ah, my favorite customer." It was very that. But yeah, the scene where she supported us even through lockdown was quite cringe.
Also, she's the richest woman in the world, but she seems to have endless funds. Like, it's not just rich, but Big's gone now and has stopped earning, and she's got some investments. She's so rich. She could buy the apartment downstairs when she's already bought one of the biggest houses in New York. And you just go, what? What? And she just buys 14 pies for no, which will be very expensive at a place like that. And you just go, she's so profligate. She just seems to have kind of endless wealth. But that is a sign of, I guess, her generosity in this endless wealth stage. Dylan?
One of her, it reminds me, yeah, when you said how rich she was, it reminds me of a line from a couple of episodes ago where she invites Miranda around and she's like, "Oh, I just forget how many rooms I have in my house." It's like, oh, to be Carrie.
Oh,
I'm
God.
glad you mentioned Jackie Hoffman because we didn't get a chance to talk about her when we recorded our recap yesterday. Love her. Always like
Always love
there
her.
serving, always serving like a sour face.
Yes.
She's great. I'd watch an Unjust like that with her in it. Are we surprised? Not surprised, perplexed as always. But that's the running theme for Just Like That.
It's just out of nowhere. We've never seen this before. We've never seen this place before. We've never seen Carrie, barely seen Carrie order dessert since, since the 90s. Like, what? I'm fascinated by what this scene was, but I think it was just your thing, Juno, of she's a great person. We know she seems like a self-involved main character energy type person who would be a nightmare friend, who would bite your head off for saying, "Oh, I saw you having a little flirt with that cute guy downstairs," and shout at you. And then you'd have to go, "I'm so sorry, Carrie. I'm so sorry." But she is a good person because she buys pies. Then she bumps into Lizette on the street, walking down her old street because she's gone back to her old neighborhood to get the pies. And uh, Lisette is like her coming down the stairs. So it's like she's seeing herself coming down the stairs in the late 90s, early noughties. Her relationship with Lisette, discuss.
So I was here for it at first. I liked the idea of Carrie seeing herself in this younger woman and being a bit of a role model for a younger woman. I think Sarah Jessica Parker acts things like that quite well as well.
Yeah.
But as with so many things in this show, they introduced it and then there was so much else going on, like Charlotte having vertigo, that they didn't they didn't progress with it properly. I would have loved like Lisette being in, I mean, I don't like seeing anyone just in distress, but for the purposes of the show, Lisette getting into a really stressful situation and Carrie kind of coaching her on how to get out of it, a bit like what you were saying earlier, Deborah, about how differently the show could have gone in general. And like giving her advice on how to navigate. Even it might have been better if Lisette had been an aspiring columnist, which now is so much more difficult, obviously, and Carrie coaching her on that, something. But I think it had potential.
Lizette could at least have, in trying to make some more money, been the model lying on the mattress with condoms on it that Charlotte fell onto because of vertigo. If she'd been like, "Oh, if there's modeling work going at the gallery for this modern art, I'm an artist, I'm a designer, like, can I come and do that? I need the extra cash." If she's around, and then Charlotte could have fallen on her, and then you've got two storylines for the price of one. These are just ideas, guys, spitballing. Not all of them are gold.
Because I remember years and years and years ago, me and my friend Kerry were on a Eurostar to Paris, and we'd just seen Sex and the City 2, which is obviously horrific.
I'm sorry
and
for
we
your
were
loss.
like, what would we... Thank you. What would we have done with a second Sex and the City film? And way back then, we said Carrie is threatened by a young sex columnist played by Anne Hathaway, which kind of dates this anecdote. And Anne Hathaway is a 29-year-old New Yorker who is like, she would have had a blog, and she's doing things like she's doing all the things that Carrie Bradshaw is much too prudish to do. And it just feels like because actually I kind of like that sort of the fact that Carrie has made this very definite decision to not be a mother. And she says in Sex and the City 2 that that's something she and Big have decided on. But to sort of see something maternal in her being applied to her relationship with Lizette would have been interesting. However, and this is what we've said throughout, because they gave us this very insecure diarrhea of new characters in season 1. So we didn't just have Charlotte, Miranda, and Carrie with those storylines that you suggested, and because that is the basis of the show. Instead, we've got LTW's making a film. Naya's marriage is dissolving. Che Diaz is a nightmare from hell. Rock and Lily and Brady and Steve and, oh my God, Anthony and Stanford and Seema. And that has meant that none of the new characters have lived up to any glimmer of potential that they might have had. And I just wish they'd had the confidence going back then to say, okay, so we've lost Samantha. Do we need to replace her? And if we do, we definitely don't need to replace her with 7 new characters. Just do one, do it well. What if Lizette had been an OnlyFans creator and Carrie had been really confronted by her own prudishness? And this is something that has been said for a long time, which is, for a sex columnist, Carrie is actually very prudish.
Oh, she's so
What if you
prudish.
actually had someone, what if we had a writer saying, oh yeah, I'm a sex worker and I love it when men poo on me? And Carrie would have been like, you know, that would have been really interesting, kind of. But no, we didn't do that because we had to
didn't
talk
do anything
about
like that.
Shu.
No, also, we had her in a massive moral dilemma about whether she could advertise an ointment for vaginas because she couldn't say the word vagina on her podcast. And I'm like, you are a sex writer. That was absurd.
One of the most heinous.
That was absolutely weird. And the whole podcast is going to end if you don't advertise vagina cream. I'm like, that's not how podcasts work. That is not how podcasts work. It's not how podcast advertising works. It really, really isn't. Yeah, I actually, and this is deviating into movie 2, but obviously movie 2 should never have gone to the Middle East, partly because they were so racially insensitive, culturally insensitive, but secondly because New York is the other character. But I liked the bit in the movie where she wanted to go and write in her old apartment, which, you know, it's a bit annoying. She could afford a second apartment, but we love seeing her back there. But then Big said, yeah, you should stay there a couple of nights a week because it's more romantic. And when we come back together, we miss each other. I think, and she got really freaked out. That should have been her, and Big should have been freaked out. She should have said, you know what, it's so sexy. You know, I love being in my own space. I get to write. And it's so sexy when I come back. I miss you. We think about each other. The sex is so much more exciting. And he should have been like, what? You want to leave me? Like, it should have turned the tables. Like, now she has him. She actually wants that freedom. We've seen that in her before with Aiden and wanting to get away. She's like, no, I love you. I just thinking if we have a couple of nights apart, it's going to be more sexy. They should have let her explore that. Anyway, they didn't. We can't ever have that again. But I always felt that about that movie. When she goes back to the apartment on this Lizette storyline and it's chopped up, what did you think of that?
I found it upsetting. I'll say one thing. The whole time we've been moaning about that, particularly like one of the most unrealistic and sort of alternate universe portrayals of wealth in this show is everyone's beautiful, relentlessly beautiful accommodation. So it was nice to see like 20-somethings living in a split up. Like, I've lived in flats like that before, where it's like in London, where it's like a piece of plywood and that counts as 2 apartments. So I liked the realism of it, but I thought it was hideous.
Yeah, they destroyed her place, which the hint was she'd just given it to her because she had no money at all. And she was like, look, felt like $7,000, or, you know, you can get a mortgage for 50 grand or something like that. And that she had essentially just given her because she had so much money, she could just go, look, I'm going to help someone like me. I would have loved that help. I'm just going to do it. I don't think you should chop up the apartment and move in a man without saying, I'm going to chop up the apartment and put walls in. I guess if you've bought it, it's yours, but she didn't warn her. That I would be like, don't come in. I'd be like so worried if I'd done that.
Yeah. There's some ambiguity about the ownership situation, because while I understood that Carrie had sold Lizette the apartment, when Lizette descends the stairs, she says, oh my God, you want your apartment back? So whose name is on the lease, actually?
I think it's a joke. I think she goes, I want my apartment back. And she goes, I'd have nightmares about this. But do you know my theory?
What?
Carrie's going to say, look, all of you 20-somethings shoved into this little shoebox. I've got this big house, why don't we swap?
Oh my God,
And
do
then
you
she's
think?
going to allow the big house to become like an artist shared,
Commune.
commune. There's so many rooms, don't know what to do with them. Move all your artist friends in. You hate living alone, and you'll have plenty of space for your art, for your work. I'm going to move back into the apartment, rip down those walls, restore it to its former glory.
Oh my God, you're so right. Because Charlotte said it looks like a museum.
I think you're absolutely.
Oh my God, I think you've called it. Well done.
And Carrie
well
also
done.
Carrie also says about her current apartment. She's like, of course it's too big. Like a couple of times she says how big it is.
And
Yes.
Seema says, why don't you buy the downstairs where Duncan was leasing? Because Duncan's not coming back. Why the fuck isn't Duncan coming back? It's so mad. He's met this woman. They have so much in common. They get on. He's met a woman that's prepared to read his Margaret Thatcher biography. Surely, if you're in Britain and you're writing a Thatcher biography, your sex appeal goes way down immediately. She doesn't know better because she's American. He's met a woman who's willing to give him notes on his Thatcher biography, who loves to hear his notes on her terrible novel. They have been flirting for ages. They finally had sex. Where the fuck is Duncan? Why is he just gone and he's suddenly not coming back? I want him back.
It's bizarre. Well, I'm slightly. I'm not. I don't want to speak for Juno. I can't remember where you landed on this when we spoke about it, Juno. But I'm slightly different. I'm kind of glad that he fucked off because just having him as the person that she ended up with at the end would have just been so like. After all that, she just ends up with someone who we've met 3 episodes ago. I don't know.
But he should have come in earlier.
Yeah, I think we're going to be left with a hint that there's going to be more. So I think while we're not going to see her end up with Duncan, I think that we will be left with compelling evidence that Duncan is going to return to New York, or an invite to London from Samantha or something.
Because the book epilogue is the widower. There's a widower from London.
Yeah.
Who's coming back, and maybe she's intrigued. That's got to be Duncan.
I was trying to remember. Do we know that he's a widower?
No, he's not. He's a divorcee.
He's a divorcee. He's married to his editor. Yeah,
but she's a widow, obviously. So maybe she was sort of drawing on herself for that bit.
Yeah.
One bit I
it's
really
hated.
Fiction.
And it's the 1800s.
It's fiction.
It's the 1800s. He's more likely to be a widower then, because hardly
Just while
anyone
we're
got divorced and everyone died.
While we're in her old apartment, a bit of dialogue that I really hated was when Lisette's talking about how she's worried about being trapped in a cage by a guy or something. And then Carrie says, that's just something that happens on streaming shows. No one has ever said that. I'm sorry.
And also, talk about things that only happen on streaming shows.
Well.
Don't draw attention to it. What? Everything in this show has only happened on a streaming show. This show. Are you kidding? What a weird thing to say. I think they're talking about You, that thriller You. I think he puts people in cages. I don't know. I only watched one season.
He does. Yes, he puts. Yeah, that's true.
I think that's what they're referencing.
And they can't say Netflix, I guess.
Yeah, normally, yes, you'd say, that kind of thing only happens on Netflix, but they can't say Netflix, so they say streaming shows in a very natural
Carrie
fashion.
doesn't own a television. How does she know?
It's very true. It's a great point, Juno. I think I'd be gutted if I gave my beautiful apartment, and that isn't a beautiful apartment. I know it's a studio, but it's spacious. It's got this amazing walk-in wardrobe, 2 entrances to the bathroom. It's gorgeous. It's just gorgeous in a gorgeous brownstone. If I gave that to somebody so they could do their work and have their opportunity, and they went, I didn't dig it, so I put up some walls and moved in a man because I'm so scared of men. I'm like, I'd be upset. I'd be like, it's sort of like, well, don't tell me that, and maybe don't invite me in to look at the way that you've destroyed it.
Oh yeah, and then she's like, oh, and the guy's called Zeke, isn't he? And she's like, oh, I'm fine because he's got a couple of guns lying around somewhere.
Oh, what was that? Was that the Republican audience? What the fuck was that?
And Carrie just
got a couple of guns lying around.
I forgot about that. Yes, but I shrieked
I would
at the
be
time.
out of there. I'd be like, okay, I'm going to get the Uber right now.
If you're scared of men breaking in, don't invite a man with 2 guns actually in and give him the key, and then you're locked away with him at night.
The call is coming from inside the house, Lisette.
Literally.
That only happens on streaming shows, Dylan. See, sometimes we do say it,
Big Speeches is back. Hello, Guilty Feminists. It's Jessica Regan here. Delighted to tell you that our online communication workshop, Big Speeches, is back with a bang for the end of the summer. Okay, so if you would like to participate in our workshop, which has helped hundreds of Guilty Feminists already, please do book for one of the following dates. We're hosting the workshops at the end of August, the 30th and 31st, Saturday and Sunday, and those workshops are at 10:30 a.m. At the end of September, we're hosting workshops the 28th and the 27th, so Saturday and Sunday again, and those workshops are at 3 p.m. So hopefully there's a bit of flexibility with time zones and routines, etc. We want to help anyone who wants to participate in this workshop make it happen. We have a subsidised rate and we have also lowered our prices for the standard rate. So please do get online, places are limited and we really want to accommodate you. Looking forward to seeing you there.
Okay, so can we go to Harry and his obsession with his lack of erection?
If we have to, yeah. I don't like it when you talk about yourself that way. It upsets me when you talk about yourself that way.
I feel like Charlotte would be more like, Harry, can you please stop going about, because he's like polishing a fork and going, I like polishing something that stays hard. I've been like, can we have a little less? It's a family home with 2 kids. Can we have a little less you talking about your erection in public spaces? Stop talking about it.
Also, Dylan and I think that after Trey McDougal's floppy cock, actually Charlotte should probably be really traumatized because she said, many, many years ago, I'm so sick of thinking about Trey's penis. And yet 25 years later, now she's here dealing with another man's flaccid erection. So it's like,
to me, that's an Easter egg.
Shut up. I'm so sick of thinking about cocks, kind of.
Yeah. The penis. Don't upset the penis. Don't move in the penis one. What does the penis think? Do you remember that rant where she's still got shampoo in her hair and she storms out? Amazing rant. And then he has to come around and apologize. Classic SATC. Classic SATC. I would love it if she did another, oh my God, I'm sick of talking about your penis. Although she can't really because it's just had cancer. But I just think a man in his 50s who's recovering from groin surgery would be like, just leave it for a bit. I've had a lot of sex in my life. Your life isn't so much about that, I think, when you've been married for that many years and you've got 2 kids. Not to say you don't want to have sex again, but I think you'd allow it a few weeks. I just don't think you'd be that obsessed.
There was a nice little bit a few episodes ago where it was a nice scene between them where Harry expressed insecurities and Charlotte was like, you know what, like not all couples have to have sex all the time. Like we're Harry and Charlotte, like you don't need to feel pressure. And that was one of the high points actually for Charlotte and Harry of this season, I thought.
I agree.
Because I do love, one of the things I actually do love about And Just Like That is that Charlotte and Harry are still very sexually active. Because again, what is the point in And Just Like That if it's not about sex in your 50s? But I think the most amazing throwback would be, although I'm sure that next week Harry is going to have an erection, but the most amazing throwback would be if Charlotte presented Harry with her 1999 rampant rabbit. That she was once addicted to.
Yes.
And she's like, you don't need a hard cock because look what I have just rediscovered. And it's the very same pink rampant rabbit from 1999. That would be amazing.
100%. Okay, I've got a pitch. Rock needs something for Thoroughly Modern Millie. It's like the teacher said, do I have a fan? Something that, at a school play, sometimes you're asked to bring something in, or she's like, oh yeah, I've got pictures of myself in my school. Rock's having a moment of confidence crush. She's like, I was in the pajama game when I was at school. I'll show you. And she's looking through old boxes to find something for Rock and finds this rabbit. Rock's obviously not in the room. And she's looking through something and she finds it and she gives it to Harry because he says, if Harry's more worried about I can't give you pleasure at the moment, and she's like, that's a beautiful pitch.
You don't need to worry.
This is why we should be, and they have a really nice time with it. This is why we should be in charge of the world. And certainly any Sex and the City reboot. That's a great pitch. What I will say, Juno, is I am
Mhm.
absolutely delighted that you still, when you say, I'm sure Harry will have an erection next week, I'm delighted by your faith, your confidence, your misplaced belief that a continuing storyline will be honoured. Listen, it might be, but we may never hear about that again. And you know that that's true.
Mhm. That is true, yeah. Although this
Because
one,
what's
it
happened to
feels like one
Marion?
episode that's been chopped into two. Oh, yeah.
What's happened to Marion?
Who knows?
Because
He's vanished for 2 weeks.
the promise was that Marion was going to become between them. That was the
Mhm.
promise. It's like, oh, this hot guy at work, I've got these feels, I've got this crush. And when Herbert, who had said, yeah, of course, hire the man, you know, he's a black man, he still gets this subject matter, hire him. Then he sees him and he goes, I didn't know he was Michael B.
Hot.
Gorgeous or something he calls him.
Mm.
And since then, she's watched him eat a papaya.
Sensual papaya.
That's it. Oh yeah,
A
he went down
sensual
on
bit
it.
of fruit, like Mr. Pussy, yeah.
Yeah, like Mr.
Yeah.
Pussy. He's gone down on the papaya, don't get me wrong. But then he's just, nothing's happened. And I don't think anything ever will, because there's only one episode left. And there's no time now.
It feels like with this one, they were like leading up to it because he's being cold to her, isn't he, Herbert? Because he's pissed off about losing the comptroller thing. And it feels like then she would then respond to it by going and falling into Marion's arms. But like you say, Deborah, we've got one episode left. Like, and I as unpredictable as this show is, I very much doubt it's going to end with Lisa cheating on her husband. I'd be kind of impressed if it did.
I would love it.
As would I, actually.
Could I just, at this point, insert a fan theory? Russ from Forest Hill got in touch and said, Deb, here's my, and just like that take, the reason the latter episodes are less than 30 minutes, because you've noticed they've got a lot shorter, is because they had to edit what they'd shot after they got cancelled for 10 intended episodes to look like 12 with a 2-part finale. That does make sense. I think that's what's happening, because they say, oh, no, we decided to end this. We thought it was a good ending place. But Welsh Emma LDN, who I had on the show last week, who makes reels about and just like that, she pointed out to me that, have you ever listened to the Writers' Room podcast where Michael Patrick King and the writers congratulate themselves on how great the show is?
It's unbearable, but yes, I have experienced it, yeah.
Okay. In this week's Unbearable episode, Welsh Emma LDN tipped me off and said they refer to the upcoming season finale, but they don't say series finale. And they're not talking about it as like, this is the landing place for the show, all these years of history. Interesting, right? They didn't know this is fake, this is as fake as Miranda's orgasms in the 90s. They absolutely are faking this orgasm, I'm telling you. They're like, no, we're climaxing on purpose. Yeah, this is what we want. Give it to me, baby. Give it to me, baby. Give it to me, HBO. Absolute lies. They are not coming at all. They are crying into their pillow. They're pretending to come because they got cancelled. And I understand why. It's a terrible show and the ratings have been poor. But I feel like in Britain, they'd give you a Christmas special. You know, they'd give you one more hour long to wrap it up. And in America, they don't do that.
Yeah.
They're absolutely ruthless.
I think, yeah, you will never, ever convince me that it was their decision to end this show.
Not here. You don't start bringing in... next season, clearly Miranda would have been a grandmother. And we would have seen that.
Yeah.
I would have loved to have seen, you know, oh, wow, one of them's a very young grandmother, but, you know, of age. You know, she's it's young to be a grandmother now, but it's not implausible that this has happened.
No.
And that would be interesting. I really do. Isn't it awful that I feel like, you know, that joke about the old ladies complaining about the food in the restaurant and one of them saying, and such small portions. Do you know that? I feel like I am that old lady going, and such small portions. Where's our next series of this at Erderos? What did you think about that scene where Harry said, I thought I was going to die, and actually I've been visualizing us being together at Thanksgiving, and that's why I don't want to go, and Charlotte saying, fair enough, thank you for being open with me.
I thought that was like fine. that was a nice. It was quite a touching scene, I thought, that he was visualizing Thanksgiving, and that was kind of the bit of the episode. That and Seema and Adam were the only two parts of the episode that gave me a bit of feeling.
I thought that too. I liked that. I
Mm.
thought, wow,
Mm.
I do like Charlotte and Harry's marriage. If he would stop talking about his penis so much,
Yeah.
I just think they're so close, they're so intimate, they still do have good sex, and they are also they're really open with each other. And Charlotte is now less prudish than Carrie, interestingly.
Oh yeah, by a
Well,
long
she's
stretch.
always had like sort of surprisingly open-minded tendencies. Like I remember in the OG show when they're talking about rimming, and Charlotte's like, "Oh well, you know, Trey does it to me, and I do it to him, but we're married." And it's like she has this wonderfully skewed perspective on what constitutes being conservative and not conservative.
It's so true. She always has those surprising flashes of like, what from Charlotte? Oh, a bit like
And that's
she was
kind
the
of
one that
her,
got addicted to the rabbit, as referenced.
yeah. And that's
Mhm.
kind of Charlotte's punch. That's Charlotte's punchline, isn't it? It's like she's Charlotte, but she does
Exactly.
this.
When she gets together with her Kappa Kappa Gamma girls, she shocks them
Oh
all
yeah.
by saying, "Don't you ever just want to be
Don't you
railed
just want to
hard?"
get fucked? Yeah. Charlotte, that's so inappropriate.
Meanwhile, Rock goes femme for a play. And how
Yeah.
did you feel about the storyline? Charlotte got a bit sad and nostalgic and asked Carrie to take a photo. Like there'd be no photos of the school musical. You would know that
Right.
you have to be photographed. There'd be photos in the
Yeah.
school magazine, and there'd be official photos you could buy. There'd be video. What are you talking about? But okay, for the sense of the plot, what did you think about it?
I thought this thread was quite good. You know, if each character has achieved anything in this whole 3-year debacle, Charlotte and Rock's storyline is one of the bigger ones. But weirdly, it hasn't really been mentioned since their bat mitzvah at the end of season 1. It kind of, Rock's gender kind of hasn't really been mentioned since. So I think actually, if we are going to end it, I'm quite glad that we're addressing it again. Because I think it's understandable that even though Charlotte has been really supportive and has been really wonderful about Rock's questioning of their gender, it kind of figures that there would be pangs of wonderment of what could have been, and seeing Rock in their Millie costume must have been a headfuck, and I think that was dealt with quite well. But I think the worst case scenario, like the absolute worst case scenario next week, would be if Rock was like, "Oh, I really like looking pretty, so I want to be a girl again now." And then Charlotte's like, "Oh my God, amazing. I knew you'd come round." So actually, but I don't think that's what we're going to get,
Nah.
because Charlotte deletes the picture. And I think in deleting the picture of Rock, that was Charlotte accepting who Rock is and not the Rock Charlotte imagined they might be.
100%. I thought it was actually rather lovely because it sort of factored in that parental longing for what they had imagined. And Charlotte is a very femme woman. I mean, Charlotte has a very femme daughter in Lily. So, you know,
Yeah.
but what she'd imagined life with Rock would be and what it is, what I thought was admirable about it, she doesn't put it on Rock. It's not for Rock. She keeps it to herself. And she has her own moment, but it also does acknowledge that those feelings can be there for you, but you can manage them and you could talk to someone else about it. You don't need to put that on your child, which I thought was actually quite sweetly done.
Yeah.
Giuseppe proposes to Anthony.
In are you going to blow me at Bergdorf's?
Yes. Anthony still has good lines, and Anthony delivers every line as well as he ever delivered a line, and he makes every line incredibly funny. The spin-off we deserve is Anthony and Giuseppe's mum. They all
I
have to live
beg
together.
no. Oh, please. I beg you no.
No Patti LuPone. If we were allowed to write that.
Anthony has never been my favourite character.
Juno and I quite boldly slagged off Patti LuPone as well. We said that she was like a drag race acting challenge in the last episode.
Oh, wow. Wow. I just
So
love
don't come for
Anthony
us,
so
Patti.
much, but you're right. You're right. It's not, the chemistry is possibly not there.
I did really enjoy him saying, "Who the fuck was that queen?" in this episode about the
Yeah.
school principal.
Oh, yeah, that was random. There was a couple
That
of
was
random
bizarre.
things. One random thing was the school principal just going, "Who's that?" And then he says, "Sorry, I haven't been out long." And I'm like,
What?
"But
Like,
you've been a human for ages." So just because you haven't been out doesn't mean you don't know that as a school principal, you don't go hubba hubba at the school play and hearts coming out of the eyes. And then Mark Kasabian, gallery man, is back for one inconsequential scene with his silver hair and his horn-rimmed glasses. Why, I ask
oh
you?
yeah,
I feel he's been
why?
set up as a possible love interest for Carrie, like a daddy for
I don't
Carrie. And I
know.
feel
I
like
took
maybe
it as
next week he could be the widower question mark. I don't
oh
know. I
god.
feel like,
I read
why
him
was
as
he
I thought
suddenly
he was.
there again? They just shove in these old people and there's no reason for them to be there.
I
What
thought
was
he was
that?
gay. I
Oh,
thought
I
he was
don't think
gay. I'm
so.
Well,
so confused.
Victor, the actor is gay. Victor Gerber is gay, but I
Victor Gerber.
think we know he has kids, although that doesn't mean he's straight. But
Yeah,
who I think again,
that's
Mark
true.
Sabian is one of those characters where he's been in like 3 or 4 episodes. I couldn't tell you a thing about him other than that he has a gallery.
He's got a
That's
gallery.
it.
That's all you need to know. And glasses. There's no need for more backstory than that.
That's
Um,
enough.
that's plenty of dimension. But why? He must have gone, "Oh, sure, I'll come back for an episode. What's happening?" I literally say, "My daughter's just pulling the curtain." And Carrie goes, "Oh, I pulled the curtain to get out of detention for smoking." Is
And that's
this
it.
fucking irrelevant? Like, it's just, it's so
Isn't she
slice of.
fabulous?
Fabulous.
So you basically, I've asked what you think about Giuseppe and Anthony getting engaged, and you've basically looked at me like, "Why do you think we give a fuck?" Is that the case?
Very that.
One
Yeah,
thing I want
very that.
One like damning indictment of their storyline for me is I always wished that there was more gay, like I always want there to be like more gay sex in particular on screen. And even when they're having sex, I still don't care. I'm just like, I don't care about these characters. And it is because I want it. It's mainly because I want it to be back with the ladies, with the core ladies. And I'd like a little bit of Anthony and Giuseppe, but they don't need their own storyline by themselves.
They
Comes
never
back to what we
did
did
in
say.
Sex and the
No.
City. And
Mm.
all men were filtered through women, so that didn't mean
Yep.
Stanford sometimes would have a sex life, or you'd see bits
Very
of
occasionally.
Stanny. He'd have a little bit of
Very
something,
occasionally.
but it was
Yeah.
like
The
a
doll with the doll
minor.
man. Yeah.
The Valley of the Dolls.
Dolls.
They'd have a little minor storyline that fed in thematically, which I think does bring me to my rewrite. This is Rewriter's Corner. Now, like
Okay.
you, and I know because I've listened to many episodes of your podcast, I truly believe that the monologue, the conceit of the column monologue did a lot of heavy lifting in the old Sex and the City.
Yes.
So each week I write what I believe to be the opening monologue and theme, and then I do what I believe the segues might have been between the scenes. So I'm going to read you
Love
mine
it.
now. As I walked down my old street, past my old apartment, in my oldest living pair of Jimmy Choos, I couldn't help wondering, can we ever really go back in time? And should we even try? Meanwhile, at the Goldenblatt's house, they were all travelling in time back to the roaring 20s with thoroughly modern Millie, while Charlotte found herself feeling nostalgic for the timeline she missed, where Rock was a femme daughter who dressed like a flapper in tap shoes 24/7. And Harry was sentimental for a time when he could conceive Rock in the first place, by which he meant a time when his penis could stand to attention like a little soldier man. And so he wanted a future timeline that didn't include Thanksgiving anywhere but home. Meanwhile, on the other side of town, Miranda wanted to time travel to any era where her 20-year-old son hadn't knocked up a woman who she now had to invite to Thanksgiving behind her son's back for no reason at all, when she could have just told him. And when Giuseppe got down on one knee, Anthony wondered if he wanted to retread the noughties and repeat history as a married man, thinking nostalgically of Stanford Blanche and all the good married times they'd had in a different timeline. Meanwhile, Seema finally got her old-fashioned Hollywood ending. And just like that, she said, "I love you," and Adam rolled her credits. And Herbert couldn't move out of last week and was determined to live in the ancient history of his comptroller loss forever. And just like that, Lisa left him for hot, mature Marion. And as for me, well, I was living in 1864, where being a single woman was a tragedy, with my button boots, my fan, my bustle, my corset. And I couldn't help feeling that if I couldn't live in the 90s when I was neurotically happy, I needed to find a time machine so I could live in the 1860s and be miserable. The woman was very much alone. And that's my version of the show this week. I
See,
admit,
there's a theme, there's a running theme, there's its time, its history. Yeah.
There's one every week. You can find it. But actually, I've tried doing them arbitrarily. Like you can pick kind of anything. And just sort of go, well, what's this angle on that? What's this angle on that? But I try and find something that I can do every week that sort of is already living in the piece. So I thought maybe I could read you and the listeners an entry I had in from Kimlessly Broadbent. So
Great name.
Kimlessly Broadbent. Kimsley, if I'm pronouncing your name incorrectly, I'm so sorry. So first of all, Kimsley very kindly says that she really enjoys the show. I won't read out all the compliments because that's very, very self-aggrandizing. But thank you, Kimsley. And she offers a plot outline for the final show. There is no timeline, therefore it is Christmas in New York.
For sure.
Miranda's flat. Miranda gifts Joy couples counselling vouchers. Joy announces she's moving back to London. Spin-off series Miranda and Middlesex, where Miranda goes back to having fabulous grey hair and explores the LGBTQ plus community in London. Cut to Harry and Charlotte opening gifts in their teeny bed. Lily and Rock express dismay at their incredibly expensive product placement presents. Harry gives Charlotte 2 poodle puppies who instantly scrap with Richard Burton. Spin-off animated series The Pups, featuring Charlotte's legs from the knees down. Brilliant. LTW and Herbert wake up in Chicago, or wherever the USA's equivalent to the North is, after having to flee New York when Herbert failed to get the position of fat controller. And LTW's documentary flopped, overspent by several $1 trillion. Spin-off sitcom The Wexleys, which is pretty much a Schitt's Creek ripoff. Anthony and Giovanni are celebrating in a luxurious villa in Tuscany. Sadly, Gia and her accent perished in a private jet crash. Giovanni has inherited a fortune. Spin-off mockumentary La Dolce Pizza. I can't even develop this. Las Vegas, Seema and Adam are celebrating their nuptials after getting married by Elvis. Adam then reveals that he has several other wives and a horde of children and lives in a community. Seema rolls her eyes and decides to embrace this new age hippie lifestyle. Spin-off series of Seema starting her own rock crystal deodorant company called Pit Boss. That's a great title.
Love that.
Meanwhile, our erstwhile heroine Carrie Bradshaw is finally descending madness. When lighting candles on an elaborate candelabra in her Gramercy Park house flat, she receives a call and dashes out into the night. The house flat then burns to the ground. Shot of Shoo, the cat, escaping to her own spin-off series. Final scene, Carrie visits Duncan in hospital where he is recovering from his severe yet minor burns. He's in the house in this version because this was written before she realized he was gone. She hands him his manuscript, which she pulled from the rubble. He is overjoyed as obviously he didn't save it on a hard drive and this is his only copy. He asked Carrie, but what about your book? Carrie replies, oh, that burnt. As like you, I only had a paper copy. She smiles forlornly, kisses Duncan on his handsomely burnt cheek, leaves the room and trots down the hospital corridor in some wildly inappropriate hospital cosplay outfit. Finn. I think that is actual genius. And if that's the way it ends, I'll be bloody thrilled.
My two immediate thoughts on that: the hospital cosplay outfit needs to be her Candy Striper outfit.
Yes.
And I think the poodle puppies should be called Rebecca and Schooner.
Oh
yes!
Wonderful. Which brings me to the game, which is Easter eggs. And really, honestly, every week I found so many Easter eggs, and you're the perfect people to play the game with. And this week, I was struggling. I was really, really struggling to care. But pies. Okay, this episode starts with pies. When else do we associate Carrie Bradshaw with pies or pie? It was a big...
Aiden's cabin.
Yes! And what happens there?
I was lost. She tries to cook a pie, but she can't because she's helpless and she drops it.
And burns her leg.
She screams at a squirrel. She screams at the squirrel, yeah.
She screams at the squirrel and then she screams again.
But strangely, when she's in the garden of her own house now. She really likes squirrels. She doesn't
She's
like
fine with
rats.
the
She's
squirrel,
fine with
but then
squirrels.
she
But
doesn't. Yeah.
people mature. I think we're probably allowed that. Um, in this episode, we see a book editor challenging her in a way that she doesn't like. When have we seen a book editor in an office not dissimilar to this one challenging her in a way that she didn't like?
Big's ex-wife.
I don't think challenging her in
No,
a way
she
she
was.
didn't like.
Hmm.
Book editor pushing
There
on
was the
her.
bit. It was the what is the message of the book? Is it an optimistic book? And that's when she dedicates it to Charlotte, the eternal optimist.
Yes. So exactly before
Thanks.
it's been this will the book be pessimistic or optimistic? Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so we're now back at that crossroads of will this book be pessimistic or optimistic? And back then she was like, I don't know what I want it to be honest. And now she's like, I don't want to be 2 for 1 in Barnes and Noble. And I believe that growth as an author. Yeah, I'm just worried about how it's going to look now. I absolutely believe that. And also, what other element of the book was someone trying to push on her? And that same book, Optimist or Pessimist, she decided it was optimistic, but there was another element, and they were trying to push something on her, and she just went, no, can't. Show me again. No, can't do it.
The cover where she's
Yes,
naked on
Cover.
Fifth Avenue.
The cover, yeah,
absolutely.
which we have
No matter
recreated.
how busy, no matter how busy the city, I always find time to put my clothes on.
Absolutely. And I mean, I really struggled, but I guess at an absolute stretch, Seema, the one who can't say I love you, the one who was always looking for a reason why this isn't going to work, saying I love you, reminds us very vaguely of what other woman like that who's no longer in the show having a moment like that with somebody a bit like Adam Gardens, the gardener.
Samantha.
Oh, I mean, there are so many reheated nachos because I think Anthony and Giuseppe is actually reheated Stanford Marcus nachos as well. So I think Seema and Adam are just Smith and Samantha, and I think Anthony and Giuseppe are just Marcus and Stanford.
Yes, I think that's right. I feel like Samantha and Smith is being lived out here again. But honestly, it's a stretch. This is not a great Easter egg episode. Any predictions for what's going to happen? How's this show going to end?
Fuck knows. Absolutely no idea. I've said it a couple of times before. I said it on our episode this week. One thing I will give this show is its inconsistent unpredictability. It is predictable in its complete unpredictability. So, and it makes it an anxiety-inducing watch. So, who knows?
Absolutely.
I think Deborah, you are 100% correct about her going back to her
Oh,
apartment.
that actually, yeah, that.
I think so. I think she's going to go back to her apartment, and she's going to let lots of people live in the house. And I think in that way, we're going to get a little bit of closure. And I think Duncan's going to have a question mark over him. Maybe he's going to come back, and she's going to go back to how she was in the 90s and the noughties when she lived on that street and a man would come to visit her. He'd come in and out of her life. She wouldn't really be secure, but really she looks back and thinks that's when I was my happiest, when I had my independence, my little place, my creativity, and a man coming and going. And really I'm a character who's learnt nothing and evolved not at all. Thank you for 27 years. You've stuck with me, you've stuck by me, and I have had the growth of a non-hero. But listen, isn't that life?
I mean, as
how
well,
much of an
I mean, it's the hero's journey of voyage and return, isn't it? So I mean, maybe that's what this story was all along. Of the 7 stories, voyage and return is one of them. So yeah, maybe she has gone on a journey to find herself, and she was there all along.
I really feel, yes, I think that's probably what it's meant to be. Either that or she'll shack up with Mark Kasabian, Gallery Man.
That would be such a curveball.
That would
Why
be
is
crazy.
he back? I don't understand why he's back. It's just for no reason. There's no chemistry between them, but it's got to be something. He's got to at least say to her, I think he's going to offer, if he's going to be at Charlotte's Thanksgiving and he's going to say, look, I'd really, and then she's going to have this, it's got to be something like that. They don't respect narrative in this. So the fact that there's no narrative hints to it tells me it's going to happen.
None of it matters. We shouldn't be like finding narrative. You're right. We shouldn't be like trying to make sense of the narrative because there isn't any.
There isn't any. Is there anything else you noticed or wanted to talk about? Anything else you came to say that you didn't get to say about this week's episode, or on Just Like That, or Sex and the City?
A small thing I noticed for the first time ever, Carrie's apartment the letter is apartment C for Carrie Bradshaw. It had a C on the door. I'd never noticed that before.
Nice. But
So
if it
there
was
you go.
B, you would have said it was for Bradshaw.
Well, true.
A is for Adam.
Yeah, just like that alphabet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My flat's flat C. And yet my name is Deborah. Discuss.
S is for Schnapple.
Oh my God. The Schnapple scene.
Oh.
No, take it away. My eyes. Oh God. I think we should do like this is the arc of these are storylines we all want to throw into the pot that could have been. And then we want to do how we'd like Carrie to end. And if these are the characters we've got, how do we end them so that we can do our own finale and do like a little table read, maybe get some actors in to do a table read. This is so extravagant. I mean, it's so much more extravagant than anything I've done for anything else. But if this is really the ending of Sex and the City, then this is the ending.
I believe this is the end now. I think this whole thing must be so embarrassing, especially for Sarah Jessica Parker, who I think has a lot of pride about her. And I think I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't her that actually pulled the plug and was like, I can't put myself through this anymore. Everybody's laughing at us. Everybody's laughing at you, Carrie. Literally. And so I think this is it. I don't think she's ever going to return to Carrie Bradshaw ever again. And so I really do think next week is the very last time we will ever see Carrie Bradshaw. So I kind of hope, my absolute dream would be that we get an 11th hour return from Kim Cattrall. That is the best possible scenario. And actually we get a reunion of the two women in a room. I mean, I'm not going to hold my breath, but...
That could have happened if they'd known they were being cancelled. Maybe if Kim had known that it was the end. I don't think so, though. I think there's too much water under the bridge. I think she took her $1 million to do, which I think is what she got offered. This is my guess, but I think they said, look, what if we give you $1 million? And she went, all right, but if Pat Field can dress me and you give me $1 million to sit in a limo and do a one-sided phone call and I don't have to be in the room with SJP, I'd be mad not to. That's
Crazy.
what I think happened. And which of us, I know everything she said, but which of us wouldn't take £1 million to sit in the back of a limo and do a one-sided phone call in a posh frock?
Yeah.
Oh, I would in a second.
I'd eat humble pie for that. I'd back down. And I don't think she did think it was humble pie. She thought it was like, quid's in.
Yeah, take the money.
She's like, she won. Let's just say it. She won.
Yeah.
I think it's clear she won. So hopefully we'll see you back. We'll organise our writers' room for when people are back from Edinburgh in September. That's my spray tan at the door. So I only have time to do because let's be honest, I can be that girl. Have you got anything to plug?
Just us. Our podcast is So I Got to Thinking. In case people didn't know, I can't remember if you said at the beginning. Apologies if you did. And you can find us on Instagram at SOGTT Podcast.
And I recommend everyone goes back to the beginning out of a sense of nostalgia, misplaced nostalgia, and listens to the whole of it again. Let's all do a rewatch of The Real Sex and the City with Juno and Dylan's podcast accompanying, so that we just go right through. And I think we stop after the first movie. That's my recommendation. Then I think we just pretend that was the end. The first movie, look, at the time I thought it was terrible. You go back and watch it now and you think, this has got a story. It's not a story I want to watch, but it's got a beginning, middle, and an end. And the characters are recognizable. I could pick them out of a police lineup. I wouldn't be worried about committing them because I'm like genuinely worried about their mental health because they've turned into a completely different person. I wasn't actually worried for them. They were still recognizably then.
And Juno's amazing book as well.
Thanks, Dylan, for plugging so that I don't have to plug. Thank you.
I was just going to say, Juno, you've got books.
I do, yeah. The last part of the Her Majesty's Royal Coven trilogy, Human Rights, has just come out, so I'm going to be on tour over the summer. You'll see me in Scotland as of next week. So yeah, you like some witchy fantasy novels, start off with Her Majesty's Royal Coven, #1 Sunday Times bestseller, no less.
Stop it right now. Wow. You're so fancy. This is like the time that Carrie Bradshaw wrote Manhattan and everyone loved it. This is like the time that she got that amazing review in Sex and the City 2, the movie, and then ruined everyone's holiday by going on and on and on about how terrible this amazing rave review was in the New York Times because it said that men were disposable or whatever it said. Something like that.
That was Mashiko Kakutani.
Oh, it was. That was in the original series. I'm so sorry. It said something else. She got another rave review that she complained about and ruined everyone's holiday about. God, she's a nightmare. Well, listen, Juno is not a nightmare. Juno's a delight, an unqualified delight, listeners. Thanks. So I recommend you buy her books, buy them now, and listen to Juno and Dylan's podcast as you rewatch sentimentally through your fingers, remembering when Sex and the City was actually good. And a problematic fave. It's been so lovely to have you on.
Thank you for
having us.
See you again another time.
Amazing.
Bye.
Yes. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
You have been listening to The Guilty Feminist Watchers, and Just Like That with me, Deborah Frances-White, and my very special guests, Juno Dawson and Dylan B. Jones. The producer for The Spontaneity Shop was Tom Selinsky. The Guilty Feminist is part of the Acast Creator Network, and Just Like That is on Max, the United States, and Sky Comedy, and now in the UK. See you next week for the series finale. And always remember, we're still watching, so we're part of the problem.